In the third installment of Horizon Zero Dawn's Liberation arc of comics, the untold chapter of Aloy and Erend's story continues, while expanding on the tale of Ursa and the waning days of the Red Raids. Both plotlines add new information to Horizon's known history and greater clarity to one of the most pivotal eras of the 31st century. If you haven't seen our previous two videos on this set of comics, be sure to give those a watch to be all caught up on what happened so far. The story picks up as Aloy and Erend face a surprise attack from the apex predator of the skies, a Stormbird. As it dives towards the ground, Erend does everything he can not to be crushed and clawed by the machine, while Aloy weakens it with frost arrows from afar. Even when slowed, the machine still proves dangerous, attempting to take to the air once more before being tied down via ropecaster. It lashes out, but once grounded, Erend is able to finish the job, putting his warhammer to good use, bludgeoning the machine until it's finally defeated. Still on the trail of Coral, they discover what had caused the machine to attack in the first place, as their fugitive had placed a lure to draw the Stormbird far from its normal habitat to attack his pursuers. Now aware of Coral's abilities to use the technology that had made Dervahl so dangerous, it was apparent that it was more important than ever that Coral was found and brought to justice. As they continued their chase, Aloy asked Erend to continue telling his sister's story, and so he did, picking up after Avad had found Ursa in the wild seeking her aid. After the prince had made himself known to the freebooters, there was a discussion amongst the Oseram as to what should be done with Avad. Some wished to use him as a hostage, others to lure the Carja out into open conflict. Ursa, on the other hand, had a grander ambition, one that might finally lead to a lasting end to the Red Raids of Duran. First, this newfound alliance would need more support if it was ever to challenge the sitting Sun King. This would start with the company of the Carja officer, Balan. After peacefully intercepting the Carja in the jungle, Avad made his case. However, the Carja officer was not immediately convinced and needed time to consider the decision. That night at camp, Avad and Ursa discussed the day's events, while a number of others settled into a night of drinking, Erend among them. As he searched to fill his cup again, Erend overheard a conversation that would prove quite telling. Around a secluded campfire, Dervahl and his apprentice Ysera discussed their true intentions on how the war would be brought to an end. Together, they conspired that after Meridian was taken, they would end the lives of the entire royal line, Avad included, and burn the City of the Sun to the ground, effectively eradicating the Carja tribe. With this knowledge in hand, Erend raced back to tell Ursa and Avad, but found them in mid-conversation with Balan, who had made his way back to their camp. There, he told Avad that he wished to join their fight, but his men would never trust a scorpion like Dervahl, a sentiment all involved shared to some degree, but a treachery that would only be truly revealed after Erend's news was delivered. Once Balan took his leave, promising his company to the cause, Erend spilled the news. Unfortunately, this fledgling alliance now faced the issue of how to remove Dervahl and his cronies without alienating the other Oseram and losing the backbone of their fighting force. Thankfully, Ursa would soon deal with this problem herself. At dawn, Ursa found Dervahl and invited him to indulge in a brief moment of celebration as the war that had cost them both so much seemed to finally be coming to a close. There, at the top of the cliffs, they reminisce over a bottle, discussing what might come. With the bottle passing back her way, she calmly remarked to the warlord, "We wouldn't have gotten this far without you, but this is where we part ways," and attempted to shove him off the cliff. Wily as ever, Dervahl grabbed onto Ursa's arm, saving himself from the fall. She smashed the bottle across his face, but a swift uppercut to the jaw knocked Ursa to the dirt. As Dervahl grasped his face and chastised Ursa as a traitor, she kicked him in the jaw from the ground. As he reeled back, Dervahl fell. Looking up at his once ally, he labeled Ursa as marked and would seek vengeance if he were ever to escape. For now, however, Dervahl was off the board, and the real progress could begin. With Dervahl gone, Ysera was captured next, and the Oseram who had been driven away by the warlord's spite returned to the fold, bolstering their ranks. This also gained greater trust with the defecting Carja, adding greater unity to the cause. One point that could have caused the Liberation Force to lose a valuable advantage was the loss of Dervahl's ingenuitive mind and knack for invention. Luckily, this void would be filled by the fiery tinkerer, Petra Forgewoman, who had created just the solution to dealing with the mighty walls and gate of the Carja capital city. When it came time for Corel to be confronted, once being a fervent supporter of Dervahl, he was given a choice. First was to leave the Oseram settlement of Pitchcliff and never return, or join the fight against the Carja. Surprisingly, he would join the rebellion, a turn of heart that Erend had not expected. However, this was far less altruistic and had far more to do with how much he could line his pockets with the loot from the remnants of the battle to come. The story then flashes briefly back to the present, as Aloy spots something amongst the nearby ruins, a valuable ingot lying on the ground. At first, it struck her as something that may have come from the ruin, but after consideration, it seemed more likely that this had come from the trader that Corel had killed before. Connecting the dots, Erend knew where Corel was headed, a Banuk trading post where he could offload his goods for shards not too far from where they were. Once they had a clear destination, the two set out to intercept. On the way, Erend continued his tale. Though they had done all they could to prepare before beginning their long march to Meridian, their force only consisted of a band of freebooters and one company of Carja. However, on their journey, the unexpected began to take place. Regular people of the claim took up arms and joined their ranks. Entire Carja companies surrendered to Avad without so much as raising a single spear against them, and across the Sundom, more and more would join the cause. Finally, the fateful day would come where they would reach the City of the Sun, and together, they would make ready for the battle that would be the defining moment of their lives, bringing this installment of the Liberation arc to a close. What comes next is a battle for the ages, as Avad and his allies lay siege to the City of the Sun and bring an end to the reign of the 13th Carja king. But how Aloy and Erend's quest to find Corel resolves itself will have to wait until issue 2.4 of the HZD comics series. Though we know a fair bit about what transpired during the Siege of Meridian, it's always interesting to see more detail concerning this dark era. We gain confirmation that Petra was directly involved in the Liberation with her first rendition of the Oseram canon, and see a figure with a striking resemblance to Talana Khan Padish also joining the fray in the battle to come, both of whom survived the conflict to later aid Aloy in her respective journey through the Carja Sundom. Another interesting piece of information we get from the comic officially confirms a theory we have held here at the channel for quite some time concerning the Stormbird. The small section concerning the machine at the beginning of the comic states the following. Stormbird. Class, Combat. Habitat, Mountains and Skies. These massive flyers were adapted from terraforming machines designed for atmospheric detoxification. Now outfitted with a devastating array of shock-based weapons, they strike terror in the hearts of even the most capable machine hunters. The best hope of defeating one is to tie it down with a rope caster and confront it on the ground. Though its current designation is as a combat class machine, we now know for sure that it was originally designed by Gaia to be used by its subfunction Aether to aid in its mission for atmospheric cleanup. Though many of Horizon's combat class machines were solely designed by Hephaestus post-Gaia, it's interesting to know that it's also been modifying Gaia machines to create more effective hunter-killers. This potentially opens the door for speculation for others to have been modified from their original purpose as well, such as the Tremortusk in Forbidden West. Fascinating stuff to be sure, all painting a richer picture and answering some of the lingering mysteries that makes Horizon so special. Personally, I can't wait to see the battle for the City of the Sun brought to life, and whatever else the fourth issue has to offer as we continue to explore the HZD comic series. And that brings our journey to an end. If you'd like to see more content like this, likes and shares are always appreciated, and if you're hungry for more lore, be sure to check out the rest of our lore library and hit subscribe. Also consider supporting the channel on Patreon so we can keep making content just like this. Check out the link in the description. And as always, thanks for watching, and keep questing.